Oh, yeah, in the year 2525. Hello there, everybody. Good to see everyone. Thank you for tuning in and being part of the experience. And let me get myself out of my own headphones, like talking to yourself, coming and going. But anyway, so what's up, folks? Good to see you. Favor be upon us all. Be of service to others. Happy birthday if you got one. Make sure you smile. I mean, if you don't laugh at least once during the day, and I mean a really good belly laugh, yikes. You know what? It makes you older if you don't laugh. You become old, scraggly. You can't accept other ideas. You just become a real bummer. Now, if you laugh every day, you're going to be, absolutely the best day you could ever have. And it does slow the aging process down. And guess what? It keeps you healthy. So smile, laugh, and enjoy it. Hello, beautiful people. Man, look at everybody out there. Hey, Hermes, what's up? Good to see you. Hello, Deborah. Good to see you, hon. Grandpa Brian, peace, brother. Good to see you. Scotty Boy, John Price. New, good to see you. Shannon, the wise woman. Indeed. Brian, 1958, good to see you. Lost in Space. Hey, Courtney, what's up? Eyes to see. Marie, good to see you. Kenneth, and I know I've seen some others in there, but hey, Scott, good to see you. And Scotty Boy. So everybody's talking about it. I guess we might as well pontificate on this as well. So allow me to go over here. So is this significant? What does it mean? Is there a sign? Is this a message to the New World Order that war is upon them, that their enemies are about to take them down, that they're planned to annihilate the human race through whatever means to 500 million? Is this the battle cry? Has the battle line been drawn in the sand? Are we about to experience a whole new hell on earth? What is this? Why did they? Now, they didn't blow the whole thing up. You have to go back and see the significance of this. And I'm sure there'll be channels all day talking about this one. It's going to be interesting to see all the conspiracy theories. Is what does this say? All they do know is you can see right here from, I believe this is, what station is this? WYFF Channel 4, Alberton, Georgia. An explosion Wednesday at the Georgia Guidestones has caused significant damage to the stones. This just happened a couple of hours ago. So 11:30 Eastern time, the preliminary information indicates that someone detonated an explosive device around 4 a.m. on Wednesday. They got a 24-hour cam on that, according to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Yeah, all right. So now, there was an explosive, a device used. Was this a terrorist act? What's the deal here? And I'm sure that the FBI is involved in this by now. They say that the Elbert County Sheriff's Office found the explosion destroyed a large portion of the structure, as you can see here. I'm not going to run the video because, it's their video. You can go and look at it. So there you go. Significant damage. I find this interesting because there, as you can see, what it looked like. So I don't know, many people speculated that this was the triad, the trinity of the New World Order, announcing to everyone on the planet that, hey, and you can see there is some significant damage done here. So, yeah, got no idea. Thank you, Joyce, for sending this as well. So there we are, folks. Yeah. Is this part of the war? I find it interesting because we're going to be talking today about the hitchhiker effect. And folks, when you get into this, it's yeah, it's one that, if true, has serious implications for all of us. What else is going? Hey, Loretta, good to see you. Gemini Ascension says, I believe it is a sign that we humans are changing things. I'll go right with you on that one. Hey, Greg, good to see you. Nunu says it shows what someone thought of it. Are you saying, Nunu, that they expressed the unstated expression? Probably so. Hey, Eyes of the Maelstrom, how you doing, dear? Good to see you, Joyce Marie. Musgrave, hello. Gilbert, good to see you. The New World Order can go. Yeah, I'll agree with you on that one. Absolutely. Rhoda says okay, got a revision. Okay, good. Send it. Hey, Joe, good to see you. Divine Empress, hello. So, man, things are changing. I mean, they are changing fast. Someone wrote me, when I did the Steiger perspective, and I'll eventually bring it out. It's too dangerous to do it right now. I got, the heads up on that one. But, here's an interesting question. So we have all these tools of divination, all the tools of being able to see at least a possible future. I got to tell you, folks, I haven't seen anyone who's gotten it right. Because I can guarantee you, if someone was telling me in 2016 what we would have gone through and where we are today, I'd have said, oh, shit. Maybe it's good we didn't. We lived through, we lived through the single largest shift in human consciousness, I dare say, probably in recorded history. What we went through in this forced draconian lockdown that never did anything. Folks, the damage that was done, many are speculating that it's irreversible. We know that there is a particular age demographic that has been seriously damaged by these forced lockdowns that never did anything. All the studies, all of them now show they were absolutely worthless, useless. But the point being here is that we went through a shift in consciousness that most humans would have never experienced. Now, if there's something that's happened here in the physical, well, then we know that there is something that's happened in the etheric, ethereal, spiritual, however you want to define it, that unseen realm that blankets us. And look where we are. I mean, common sense is gone. But the hitchhiker effect. So, let's approach it this way. Hello, Paul from Newcastle. How are you doing? Dave Sullivan, good to see you. People are still damaged wearing masks. And it has, I've read the white papers, the papers coming from tenured professors they're in the field. This did serious damage to the human race. And governments are not wanting to admit it. There are a few governments out there have finally said, hey, we really fucked up. And we realize that, gee, we're really sorry. Yeah, we're sorry too. But nevertheless, yeah. And I tell you, I don't know what else we're going to be seeing from this. So let's talk about the hitchhiker effect. The fact that we're even going to be talking about this, they say, activates this, whatever the freak you want to call it. We're going to get into it. So got some stuff right here to carry on the conversation. So years ago on this channel, I did a whole story on, hey, if we only knew. So consider this. Everything sheds, whether it's RNA, DNA, who knows? I believe that as spiritual beings, we shed energy. And much like every human does, all humans sleep in the dead, rotting cells of your body. And if your mattress is over 5 years old, you can add 2 pounds of dead cells, your dead cells. And if you have a significant other, just double that. Wherever you walk, you are shedding cells, DNA. Now, the implication here is, well, and we know this, you can walk into a room and you can feel sometimes if something's wrong. You can feel if something's really happy. You can sense sometimes something is about to happen. So everything, even planets, suns, shed. Now this has huge implications because our DNA, we know, has been manipulated. We know that. We don't know who did it. We don't know how they did it. But we do know it has been jacked with. And we're still learning more and more. And the interesting thing about DNA is that it's not long strands. It's very short, so-called strips, I guess you could say. So if life exists outside of Earth and that life has visited Earth, the bottom line, I don't care what your thoughts, your beliefs, your whatever, contamination has occurred. If it isn't natural, native to this planet and this planet alone, the minute it breached the barrier, contamination took forth. So if you believe that ET is here, that there is controllers that are controlling us mice, us monkeys, humans, that's all we are. We're primates. We're advanced primates, but we are nothing more than a simian. That's what Homo sapiens are. We are part of apes, monkeys. And people don't like that, but hey, listen, I didn't do it. You got a problem? Go talk to the ones who did. The point is, contamination has taken place. And the minute something that is pure of its native origin that is exposed to a foreign contaminant, DNA alteration takes place. Now, if this is done in the physical, well, what happens to the true spiritual, the energy? It's called the Hitchhiker Effect. We're about to get into it even more. Give me 1 second here. As I go over here. So everything has been altered. And if you carry this out, the geneticists have carried this out. In fact, let me get here. Now, it's interesting because I happen to be a big fan of the movie. I enjoy the movie, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Love the book. And, what Douglas Adams was saying in many ways is that everything is contaminated. So if you want the book, I have it on PDF, but if you're not buying it, it's a great book. So the hitchhiking effect. Now, this geneticist have been well versed with this term. For them, it's the fact that there are mutations that take place within the human chromosome, into our DNA, our RNA, mitochondrial DNA, the feminine aspect. And every time two humans come together, and subsequently due to the poor biological design, you know, if there is birth, there is better ways to do it. Our way that we are forced into this realm is probably the lowest, crudest, most animalistic process. But with this parasite, and this is what it is parasitical. Now, a lot of people don't want to think the fetus, that all of us, that eventually how we came through us, but it is a parasite. Every embryo is parasitic in nature. Kind of makes you ask the question, well, then is this what nature really is? Nature truly is parasitic? Is the fact that nature cannot exist unless it is parasitic in its foundation, and everything from there on is parasitic in its whole purpose? You know, the Matrix may have had it right. Wherever humans are a virus. We have no natural origins, or at least none that we can go on. Or remember that the point is, in this paper particularly, it's discussed how these mutations take place. And in fact, if it wasn't for the mutations taking place within our cellular structure, in fact, the very environment itself, we would be stuck in time. And in fact, the only result would be death. So if we have this effect that we know takes place genetically, well, let's advance this then. Let's take it into a sentient life form. The fact that all of us human beings, every living animal on this planet, every plant on this planet sheds. We are such a soup of genetic material. It's quite fascinating, the experiment that they have allowed us, and we are the experiment. No people like to think that. Another aspect is here, another white paper dealing on hitchhiking effect of the beneficial mutation spreading in a subdivided population. So again, all of us pick up hitchhikers. In fact, we are in essence hitchhikers ourselves. We hitchhike onto ideas. We hitchhike onto emotions. We hitchhike onto social cravings, social culture. It's what we do. And there is good evidence that says the reason why we do is that's because that is truly what we come from. If you want to talk about what life is, the experience of life, your mission in life, again, you are hitchhiking on someone else's idea. It is said that no human has ever had an original idea, that every idea is merely a mutation of the original idea. Wow. So that basically implies that all thoughts, all ideas are merely hitchhiking upon that which was the original. And in fact, the fact that it shows that we're parasitic in spiritual nature because we have to feed off of something that's even greater ourselves. Do you think you actually generate an original idea? Scotty boy, do you really think you have an original idea? Just calling you out, buddy. I can't see you in the chat room, but anyway, I know you're there. But the point is, so this gets really interesting, even more so. Because again, now in Lucille Fletcher's original radio act called The Hitchhiker, it's quite interesting, and we're going to get into this because here's the first time when we're kind of introduced to something of an entity that many of us who have been visited, it's all said that all of us most likely have picked up hitchhikers. Now, I want to stop here because, give me a second here. Okay. Cool. Okay. As he gets out of this one. Hi, folks. All right. I want to read this, not so much for, so you can get an idea, because now I'm going to bring it into something that is happening right now. So the term hitchhiker phenomenon was taken to a different level than just in the realm of academia. Because now we're going to get into something that it's caught so many people. They're into it. I have been watching this. I actually had the opportunity of meeting Dr. Travis Taylor in an airport. Same thing I did with Adam over at Mythbusters. But anyway, the knowledge that's coming out of the Skinwalker Ranch has been now capturing more and more people's imagination, because we now know that there is, in fact, something there. Now, this gets into about what is a hitchhiker. Robert Bigelow added a whole new level to this in an interview. In fact, it was brought out in Louis Elizondo, who was the Navy guy who kind of broke the whole thing and dropped the dime on the Pentagon about the fact that, yes, these UAPs, these UFOs, whatever you want to call them, they're real. They're not of Earth terrestrial origin, which means they are off planet. Now, if they're off planet, the fact that they're in here at all, they're fuel. We have no idea what's propelling that. We have no idea what is the biological, if they're breathing our air, what they have put into our air. And you may not think that this is one individual can cause a global contamination. We just went through that. We found out how fast that can work. So he was asked on a podcast recently, could he define what, this hitchhiker effect was? He declined to answer it, probably because it's complicated. So in a recent interview with Robert Bigelow, he discussed when he owned the Skinwalker Ranch, but he used another term called hitchhikers. Now, recently, Travis was interviewed by, I think, the LA station, Las Vegas, and he brought this up, and they immediately wanted to stop talking about it because he said, this could have implications. Well, maybe it can, maybe it can't. If it has implications, I contend we're already implicated. But he mentioned, and he said this. So Robert Bigelow said this. He stated very matter-of-factly, every person that has visited Skinwalker Ranch has taken home a hitchhiker, including Bigelow himself. Now, for the most part, so far, it's been interesting and benign, like poltergeist activity. He discusses a ghost sighting with his wife, but he went on to say that he was pretty confident it was hitchhiker related and may have been due to the flow of the conversation. Apparently, just talking about this activates something that we humans cannot see, we cannot hear. And by the way, our sight is our worst attribute. We think we really see stuff. We don't. What we do see is so de minimis in the full spectrum. Fact, it's on the record that 2 FBI agents were in fact harmed by hitchhikers. These are not people, humans with their thumb out. No, folks. This gets interesting. Bigelow stated that he doesn't know if this thing is a temporary effect or if it follows you or is with you for the rest of your life. He says that there are personality traits or other attributes that can explain maybe why these FBI agents were attacked, but they really don't know. They don't know if it was a ghost, it's an alien, or when human mind gets exposed. And here's the other aspect is we've known that the CIA, the military industrial complex have, and this is worldwide, spend a great deal of their time, effort, technology on mind control. If you lose control of a society, those that are the controllers, they're in deep shit, and they know it. What has happened in the past have shown them we absolutely tear them to pieces, not just physically, mentally. You see, the reason why they can control us is our minds are so much more greater and powerful than what we have ever been led to believe. In fact, the injection of human self-doubt is the number one reason for the education system. The education system has a secondary effect, but its most potent thing that it injects into the young developing mind is self-doubt. They tell them this is make-believe. That is fairy tales. You can't believe in that. And that's the poison. That's where it starts. Because once that seed takes root, it's almost impossible to ever remove it. That's why the vast majority of humans are easily controlled by others. That's why you have women that are in abusive relationships, men that are in relationships where you have passive aggressiveness, where you have governments that absolutely become the enemy of the people. I mean, I can just go on and on. Corporations that use people for nothing more but for profit. Look at the tech companies, Amazon, Google, YouTube. It's all about money, folks. That's all it is. There's no such thing as community. It's about money. But you have to go above that. Are these truly the attributes of human beings? Or are we seeing the attributes of something else? Are we seeing the attributes of archetypes or of tupos that we have created, that the controllers put in, and that we have unleashed them? Is it in fact that we now know that there are places on the earth that have actual open portals? We've known about this in the occult. We've known about this in Christianity, Judaism, Islam. All the religions know about it as well. They just disguise it and talk about it in a different way. So when you begin to think about what's happened, that if in fact this is true, then it gets really strange, because it appears that the human race itself is nothing more than a feeding ground. We feed upon others, others feed upon us. And it gets stranger on this because it doesn't just stop there. It says between September 2008 and December 2010, they said the Pentagon spent millions investigating these UAPs, as well as all paranormal and psychic correlations. It's been discussed now that the Pentagon, the United States military, has people that listens to these type of channels, that channels like mine and others that deal in this subject matter. And all of you, you're on a list, you're in a file. We are probably the greatest threat. It's because we challenge the status quo. We inject what they consider to be potentially harmful hitchhikers into a system that apparently they're pretty well happy with. It goes on to say that, and again, money. It's amazing how it's always money. If in fact it's true, it says that our planet is valued. It has in a galactic trading, I don't know what you want to call it, collective, that our planet has greater worth because we sustain this, us. Who knows? But anyway, now they've taken a lot of occult knowledge, and you may not believe this, but it's true. They have actually incorporated into advanced aerospace weapon system application programs. These are mind control programs. I mean, and it's more beyond that. But what's really interesting is that apparently it's attached to a non-terrestrial sentient intelligence. It is said that the Russians have similar programs. The United States military and CIA have vast departments of what they call the U.S. Psychic Spy Program, where governments like the Pentagon have complete divisions of remote viewers. In fact, they go through channels like this on YouTube, Facebook, and others, and this becomes their recruitment fields. Yeah, they find people that have profiles that are fed to them, and those that, and once you're targeted, it becomes very weird what happens on that. Many are rejected, but it's amazing once you're targeted, you're never fully rejected. But those that they actually recruit into these military mind programs is mind-blowing. And apparently through each one of these, there is a non-terrestrial sentient intelligence attached to it. It is said that one of the programs was in fact called Stargate. It said that that program was teaching people how to kill humans remotely. Now, Max Vision, I know you watch, and I got to get you on. It's very interesting. I'd like to know what you know about this, because apparently there is a whole level of remote viewing with hitchhikers now. And remember, and hitchhikers are something that are not human, that where they have actually been able to recruit human beings that have high aptitude natural levels in this area, and how they begin to teach them is plant life. Now, it's interesting when you correlate this plant experiment. All of us, well, many of us who went through school and they actually taught children something, how we did our science projects, you know, the plant with music. You know, does a plant respond better to classical Mozart as opposed to, you know, grunge rock, you know, and you know, what happens? And what they begin to do is to teach them to focus in on the plant, into the very cell. And as I read the paper, it was quite interesting that they teach them to start killing on a cellular level, slowly. Now, it makes one wonder, because they've been at this for decades and decades and decades, do they really now have mental remote viewer assassins? These are individuals that governments, the United States government, Britain, France is on alarm, China, Russia, because apparently the Chinese have been deeply into this. They realized that if they could train a highly disciplined group of individuals to effectively remote assassin other people, world leaders, industry titans, etc., you have no protection against yourself. This gets scary, because apparently this is what ET does. This is how ET in the many different species manipulate us. Our minds are so weak. The vast majority of humans are weak-minded. Doubt me? Why the explosion of TikTok and other programs? Those are mind-controlled programs. So that is alarming. If you think about the fact that we're advancing into this level, this makes transhumanism almost seem like nursery school crap. And there is a known thing as the experimenter effect, but that doesn't necessarily translate into mind affecting physical reality. Through the Dean Radium and the Global Conscious Project, which seems to have evidence that this is in fact what they do. Holy crap, folks. Imagine a scenario where you start seeing reports all over the world of people suddenly dying, collapsing. No reason, no cause, mysterious. What if these are nothing more than targets? In other words, these remote assassins are focusing and no one would know the difference. So does the hitchhiker phenomenon relate to consciousness? Russell Targ stated in one of his books on remote viewing that the viewer sees can also see them. It was Targ, or I guess Ingro Swan, who said, does the human consciousness affect things and people? So does your consciousness affect other things and other people, animals, plants? Yes, no. The answer is hell yes. Yes, it does. And you know, it's right there in front of us. We see the effect. We actually see the evidence. But even with the evidence, most humans live in denial. And that's not a river in Egypt. Denial has become a reality. It is a place where the vast majority of humans today escape into, is denial, because there is no personal responsibility. And the controllers, the outsiders, love that. Humans would rather be enslaved than free. They don't know how to be free. They don't know how to exist unless there's structure, rules, boxes. Very few live outside the boxes, and those that do are the biggest threat by those who live in the box. So consciousness. Yeah. So can aliens affect things and people with their consciousness remotely? Why isn't I do not hear on channels where people doing remote viewing and, you know, channeling, oh, they're channeling. So who's really doing the channeling here? Who's doing the remote viewing? How do we know it's really by our own volition and that which we're seeing, that we're not merely being used by a greater, more powerful, disciplined consciousness? You see, people don't want to talk about the hitchhiker. If you mention the name of the enemy, does the enemy come to you? Do they become aware of you? Robert Bigelow gave a warning and stated in this video that you can go see online that he says, when you start talking about this, it activates probably on the 1.6 gigahertz level. And they become very much aware because by me talking about this, explaining it in such rudimentary terms, because I'm still learning myself, it is apparently something that sends off danger, danger, Wearable Robinson, you know, something like that. Are ghosts simply beings of consciousness without bodies? You know, we're getting into this. We're still dealing on, you know, synthetic intelligence. So if people who die and they transcend, what are they? If they're not consciousness, I don't know what they are then. Bigelow said, we don't like to talk about the hitchhiker too much because everybody's afraid it's going to trigger something. Now, it's real interesting because as we're finding out on this, Dr. Taylor has said as well in his interview, he's, man, I don't want to talk about this. Now that's really interesting, because if they're that afraid, the Pentagon is afraid. The United States military is afraid. The CIA is afraid. The Democrats are afraid. The Republicans are afraid. This is getting out. And they now know that containment most likely is not even reasonably to think that it can happen. So Dr. Travis Taylor, in this recent interview, he went on to say, he said, I wonder if they realize the more that we don't know, and what we're beginning to find out is that all this ambiguous stuff makes me think more and more. Does thinking about it abstractly attract its attention? What have hold good, once the thought is put out there, then it is said that you and I become potential beacons. The vast majority of people are what we would call, they say, marshmallow people. They don't have any real structure to them. So again, what is the hitchhiker? Because if it's friendly, if it's a friendly ghost that sometimes wakes me up in the time to go to work, I'm okay with that. If it wakes up to a ghost breakfast and it's feeling, I'm fine with that because it's ghost food. And I don't know, do ghosts eat? You ever think about this? Do they need nourishment? Do they need something to re-energize? Interesting. But on the other hand, if this hitchhiker that's now being poured in, it is said that there are portals that have been opened, and that what's being let in, you'd be surprised how much the human spirit can take. But again, if these entities, these hitchhikers, are wanting to kill your alarm clock or cause electrical problems in the car, well, that's a bummer. It's interesting. I talked about that movie, The Entity. Sure enough, it was on. Interesting story. We'll get into that another time. So again, we're seeing the phenomenon of the paranormal increasing. Recently read an article that there is concern because it seems as one person who wrote this said, it's almost as if the zipper has unzipped. So, and we know this. We're now with our instrumentation, and I'm part of that. I buy the equipment, and I find that it's fascinating. Why? Because all of us are going to be over there. But again, cheers. So this continues to get weirder. So are the two phenomenons related? Is the UFO ET phenomenon related to the supernatural, the paranormal? It would seem that they're tied to, apparently, maybe not directly, but indirectly. And you think about this, the simple tools like this, just using the standard REM pod. It picks up on heat, electromagnetic. It picks up on the 5. This technology 20 years ago would have been off-world technology. It would have been, some cases would have said it's unholy. Others would say it's of the devil. Isn't it odd that we're so ignorant in our stance that our technology, whether it's ours that we brought or someone brought it to us, how we're now deploying it amongst us, that yet you still have a large portion who say, well, that anything to do with spirits, it's demonic. Well, how ignorant can a person be? That's what you're saying is that, well, when everyone dies, they're going to go be a demon. Come on. Get your head out of your ass and wake up and realize it's not that at all. But getting back to the fact, this type technology, the SLS technology that we can now actually spot, identify, record ghost. And let's stop calling them ghosts. They're people. Well, maybe not all are people. Seems like we can also capture those that don't quite look human. This seems to be a good conversation. Thank you for hitting the like button. Feed the algorithm. So again, are we seeing a correlation? And then take this to what we're seeing celestially. Our sun, it's going in its weirdness. All the planets are now we're in this so-called galactic sheet, this thing that cycles through every 12,000 plus years. And we got cosmic rays, making us back crap crazy. And yet at the same time, it seems like this veil. Now, it's interesting because if you study, which many of us do, we know, for instance, in eschatology, that in I believe it's the 22nd chapter of Matthew, I believe, maybe the 23rd, that veil has been ripped before, where the physical and whatever you want to call it, the ethereal, the spiritual, the two worlds blended together. We have other stories and other religious books that this happens. We understand now that particularly if you pronounce the Hebrew words correctly in a certain tone, it opens up a portal. Who'd have known? How many other portals do we open up? I don't know. I have a feeling probably a lot more. I am convinced that these devices right here, these are portals. That these devices are in fact what opened the portal, that the vast majority of people that I have witnessed, particularly how it's taken them over their minds in the last 5 years, these are portals that allow the hitchhikers in. Now, I don't know if hitchhikers, as Bigelow said, don't know if they stay, if it's something that maybe they weaken, but I know this. I know these devices right here. These, if you want to talk about a demonic device, this would be a demonic device. This device is your God. I have said that to this audience for the last 7 years. I stand by this. This is your God, folks. It is your God. It is your portal to your God. And for some people, it is the God, not a God, the God. You don't think this opens up portals? You're a fool if you don't. Just to be blunt about it. We've been tricked. We have been lulled into something that I don't know if we can get out of it. Everything is now integrated into this consciousness, what we call artificial intelligence. But it appears that this intelligence is not so artificial after all. Alien, maybe, because there has apparently was no human that was actually originally involved in it. But no, we like studying the occult because the occult gives us an advantage, does it? I don't know about you, but I would have to say that if we were having a trial and we were putting on trial the ideologies of man that have failed, religion would be first, but I think the occult would be second. Then you would have politics, etc. I contend that the occult has failed us more than probably religion has, and religion has trapped the mind and spirit of humanity. I'm not even sure that we are studying the occult. If it was truly the occult, we would be seeing literal vortexes all across this planet that would be no-go zones for a vast majority of humans. They could not enter it. But I'm not seeing that happen. Why? I had a very powerful warlock in witch write me recently, and I am considering your invitation. I'll just tell you that. But they are explaining to me there are things happening in certain environments that would shatter the cognitive stability of many people. As they wrote to me, they're here. And what they described as I don't think we've seen this before. I don't know. My dreams are becoming much more real. The visitations are becoming much more tangible. Is this the phase that we're in? Are we a part of something that we're not fully grasping? Reading some of the things in the chat room. I mean, these are questions. This is what we do here. We ask a lot of questions, and then it's fun to get the analysis, the response back of people. But it's very clear that we're involved into something. And again, I ask, is the correlation of the phenomenon of, extraterrestrial entities and the phenomenon of the supernatural, the paranormal, are they connected? I'm just reading some of this. See, I love this. Hey, David Castle, how are you, brother? Good to see you. Bonnie, good to see you. I just ask these questions because it's a forum. I really hope that in the next realm, we'll have our own amphitheaters where we can actually come and have these discussions. And because these are, to me, are the real discussions. I mean, all of us are going to be passing, some sooner, some later, but eventually we all do. And, even though the experience is going to be a little bit unsettling for the first time, I think many of us will get our sea legs. I don't want to be unprepared. If the realms are connected, which it appears that they are, then I think we have an excellent opportunity to learn here. Now, if the realm of the spirit is connected to ET, well, then who are the non-terrestrials? Sentient consciousness. Are they made of us? Are they made of the substance? I have said this before. Not all humans have souls, and not all humans have the same type of spirit. It doesn't come from the same place, wasn't created in the same place. That pisses off my friends in the religious circles all the time. That's all right. Suck it up, cupcake. Hoist up the big britches and just realize that you've got to realize this. If God exists, if a God exists, then it certainly ain't human. And if it ain't human, then why are humans worshiping something that ain't human? And if it is human, then why is another human worshiping another human? God, we're so gullible. Could be that way. That's all I got to say. So there we go. I'm just reading some of this. Warship. That's it. Actually, if you look at the war, the WOR, it actually has something even more, how shall we say, meaningful. All I want is to remember what I was, what I watched on YouTube, what wrong I learned in school, and who listens. I think it'd be better than that, Nellie. I think so. Absolutely. So again, a whole hour of deep thought. Joe Sapien, what do you got to say? It is not a forum when I get snapped at like one day. Well, Joe, just smile, laugh. Remember, they can't take that away. Hey, Emperor X, what's going on? Golems, get thee behind me. Indeed. Happy birthday, Courtney. I did not know that you have on a new run. Well, welcome, sister. Preliminal interrelated spirit realm. Yet what differentiates on one soul is placed into one realm. Is there a profound, concise method to the divine authority? I just want to say this. If there is a divine authority, then we don't understand the premise of authority. And if you even have to have authority, then I got to go, I can't buy that. Maybe I'm just at the point in my life where I haven't seen any God fulfill anything they have ever promised. Not one. I see the occult as basically a chaotic whirlwind of gnosis that few ever have the ability to capture. Well, thank you, Isby. An hour of deep thought. Isn't that true? Yes, yes, yes. Hey, that guy. Good to see you. Let's see. What was that? I'm gathering that is cussing out something. I gather. I don't know. Anyway, Julianne says, independent creative share. I like that. Indeed. Well, that's my my $200 worth. It's an interesting aspect of it. And we're going to get into it probably tomorrow, talk about how religion has failed. And I think how the occult has failed. I think that for so much, for those involved in the occult, we have done more of a disservice to the knowledge of the occult than those that went before us. And I don't know. I see so much talk about people, well, we're ascending into the 5D, the 7D. And sometimes I just think to myself, how can people say that when the vast majority of humanity doesn't even know what the 3D is? So how are we making these ascensions? And if we're making these ascensions, what would we figure this out? Something that, how many billions of humans prior to us never figured out, but we got the answer now. We're going to tell you how to ascend. Really? I mean, sometimes I think we get really full of ourselves and really think that, somehow we're the top. And maybe we are. I don't know. But if something only benefits a few, is it really that valuable? Isn't something valuable that when it benefits everybody and it doesn't require a lengthy, eschatology, knowledge, and what have you? I don't see the simplicity and I don't see the love. I don't know how a person can ascend if they lack compassion, empathy for their fellow man, woman, child. How can you do that? Because, if you take the position, well, as long as I got my shit, I don't care about what the rest of y'all done. And now we can talk about ascending. Yeah. But how do you talk to someone about ascending when their stomach is empty? Just asking. You see, I think that if we are truly of a hidden knowledge, it's time that we bring this hidden knowledge out into the open. And if magic truly works, which it does, then it's true. Then it's time that we take hold of the talking points. We control the narrative. I don't know. Okay. Onward we go. Thank you for tuning in, folks. What does Joyce say? Now that we know what they taught was a lie, so my grades were equally a lie. You got it, girl. You got it. Exactly. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate that, brother. Really do. And happy birthday, Courtney. That is the question. And Point Wayne is trying to say how to teach ascension when people are hungry. There are a lot of hungry people, and there are going to be a lot more hungry people. If we really have something and it works and it's genuine, then it should be easily to pass on. All righty. Big hug to everybody. Thank you, Lost in Space. Julie, thank you. Mary Wins. Good to see you, my darling. John Price says, I know I'm good when my dog gives me a kiss. Exactly. By the way, I've started to say that when you've heard on the expression, oh my God, well, I've started saying, oh my dog. Cracked this person up in the store. I mean, she heard me say that to Lynn. And she just started laughing. She said, excuse me. She said, did you say dog? And I said, yeah. Oh, my dog. So there you go. That's the Hitchhiker Effect. There you go. All right, everybody. Much love to you. Love you all. Y'all are looking fabulous. You look good. And I got to tell you, your energy is good. It's healthy. It's up there. What a crowd. All right, folks. Okay, Courtney, rock and roll, darling. And we'll see everyone tomorrow. All right. Ciao. Or as he would say, until